when I talk to students and I say, so what are you going to do differently? They just are going to read more, or they're going to study more, and they really don't have sometimes the strategies to put into place. Okay? And what's really important to remember about study skills is that the key is to pass the information through your brain in as many ways as possible. Okay? So if you're just sitting there very inactively turning your notes, that's probably not helping your brain any. Okay? So what I did was, after a while, I started to talk to students about, well, if you don't have it in your notes, then you need to blah, 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 blah. And I finally then put it into a sheet. So if you look at the second page, it says, be strategic about how you change your study habits. So if you don't have it in your notes, that means that your note-taking somehow is flawed. Okay? And so what you need to do is you need to sit up front. You need to check in with other students, their notes. Maybe you need to go to the professor and make sure that you're getting all the material that the professor is putting up on the board or talking. Maybe you need to tape record the lecture. Ask the professor if you can tape record it. What I found is that most people don't go back and listen. They have these great plans. I'm going to tape every lecture I go to, and then I'm going to listen to them every night. And it never happens because they have too much work to do. So taping lectures usually doesn't work unless you have a counter. And then if you've missed some material, you can go back to a specific counterpoint, you know, with a counter on the tape recorder. Yeah.
That worked for me if I did it for like one class, because I have like two 3-hour classes, kind of like 2.5, and then one 50-minute class. It worked for the 50-minute class for a while, but I sleep with my lecture instead of doing it when I'm supposed to be studying. Yeah.
Okay. But sometimes it's just, you just have too much work, so to go back and listen to a whole lecture all the time is just not very good. The other thing that you can practice is the Cornell method, where you draw a line down the middle, and on one side, on the left side, you put down just the main points that the professor says, and then on the right side of the line, you take the regular notes that you take down. That's on the website as well. So that's one of the things that you really need to look at, is whether your notes are complete. Okay? And maybe doing your readings as well, and looking at your notes, whether your notes are reflecting the depth that the readings have as well. The next thing is you didn't study it. You know, that's kind of scary, and I've done that. I've gone into exams and gone, oh my God, this professor never touched on this. What in the world? You didn't study it. That means that for some reason you didn't think it was important. It was in your notes, but for some reason you didn't study it. And so that's why study partners are really helpful in study groups, because then you can kind of check out with each other whether everybody is studying at the same material. So that's going to be really important. Another thing is check past exams. You know, if you can get some past exams, sometimes you know, other people have exams from years ago from different professors, and you can look at that. Or even in textbooks. Textbooks sometimes have exams at the end of the chapters, so you can do that. You studied it but couldn't remember it. This is about memory. And memory is very weak most of the time. So our memory system, you really need to work on reinforcing the material over and over again in many different ways, whether it's seeing it, reading it, writing it, hearing it, talking about it, asking questions about it, answering questions about it, teaching other people about it. That's the way our memory system really starts to pull in the material, okay, and hold on to it. Because you want it not only in your short term, you want it in your long-term memory as well, okay? So pass the information through your brain in as many ways as possible, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. Let's see, you didn't know the terms. Flashcards, flashcards, flashcards. Terminology, you know, whether it's a foreign language or whether it's just, you know, taking an intro course in Anthro where a lot of the words are foreign to you, you need to do flashcards, okay? So that's the biggie for terminology. Sometimes you need to check in with the professor. and make sure that you have a vocabulary list that's up to date so that you can really get the terms. Because sometimes people just pass over terms and then they don't have them in their memory and they don't understand them. And the terms then lead into concepts. And that's the real tricky one, because concepts are these big kind of ideas that you really need to understand, and you need to understand them at different depths for different professors, right? It gets back to the depth thing. And so that's why I think a lot of times with broad concepts, you really want to be working with a study group or a study partner, because then you can really talk out those big ideas and make sure that you have them, okay? And then the next step, which is sort of connected to that broad concept, is the whole idea of application. You have to know the concept, the formulas, everything else, down to the point where you can apply it to novel situations. And that's very difficult, and that's a lot of times what college is all about. You know, they teach you the concept, but then they say, okay, I want you to apply it to this situation, or this situation, or this situation. The best way to really work on application questions is to practice them, okay? So what I recommend people do is get a study partner or a study group. And each of you come up with 5 to 10 questions that you think will be on the exam. And you go around the group, and each person asks one of their questions, and then the group has to answer it. And if they can't answer it, then you have to answer it. So you've already prepped the answers for those 5 questions really in depth. And so by doing that, you're really focusing on getting the information through your brain in many different ways by first creating novel questions that are application. You're putting yourself in the driver's seat, right? And then you're asking them, you're explaining it to people, and you're ready to go with it. So, and then when people are asking you questions, you have to explain it to them. So that's a way to really practice those application questions. It's the best way to do it. Because then you'll get confidence, so you won't get stressed out. And then you'll start to really come up with novel questions that are probably harder than the professor can think of. Okay. So you couldn't understand the question. Sometimes you don't know the material well enough to really understand the question. Sometimes the professor hasn't written the question very well. You know, we're all human. And so sometimes you have to ask a clarifying question. And sometimes after the exam's over, you may need to go into the professor and say, wow, I didn't understand how you asked that question. And sometimes they'll look at it and go, yeah, that is a little odd the way I wrote it, isn't it? Okay?